Hey guys, it is your sister, your girl Jamaica, along with
Drew Cost.
so you got the cost here tonight. We just wanted to chime in and just share some experiences that we've had. We're just gonna give you guys a couple seconds. We're not even gonna say minutes, but seconds to join us. If you could just let us know who you are, we can see you in the chat. That would be awesome. We are streaming right now. We're going to come on in a second, but we're streaming right now on Facebook, Periscope, and also YouTube. And so if you could just let us know, even where you're streaming from, that would be helpful too. But just give us about 20 seconds and we'll get into this conversation. Okay, guys, we're still here, so we're about to join you. And if you could just post in the chat, let us know that you are here. That would be amazing. Let's see where you guys are at. All right, guys, we're here. You got Elda. You got Drew Cost, Coach Drew Cost in the building. And then, myself, Jamaica Cost, of All Things Kingdom. Drew is of Drew's Transformation Lab. You guys know us, and we are the Cost. And so we're coming on live with you guys tonight. We just wanted to share an experience that we recently had, an enlightening experience, and wanted to get some kind of feedback from you guys to see what your thoughts are. And so, you want to start us off?
So we'll be sharing and we'll get some questions or some feedback on our experience on a mini vacation that we went on Saturday through Sunday. We got to, was it East Hampton? Huntington, Mass.
In the area of Massachusetts.
We went up there on Saturday, maybe about 3-ish, 4-ish, for a retreat. And on the way there, the ride was good. We got to the destination safe, and we needed to get something to eat. And this is where things may have taken a little turn. You want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, so we are going up on for a retreat with our family, with our kids and everything. And we were going into an area that we had never been before. But we are in the United States of America, right? So we're just traveling like usual. And one thing I noticed, even on the way, we noticed a lot of signage. Remember that? So we were driving into like rural areas where, the next house over could be a whole acre away. And we were seeing a lot of signs just displayed. You saw Black Lives Matter signs. Yeah. You saw pride signs. You saw political signs. It was like a thing, like have your flag displayed on your property type of thing. That's what I noticed. And I just was like, I've never seen something like that where it was just so blatant, like where you from type of thing. And then even before we got there, first of all, we were going to a Christian retreat. Let me just say this. Can I just disclaimer? The retreat we went to was amazing. The location is amazing. The retreat center is amazing. The staff, everything. It was a real Christ-centered retreat, okay? And so we were blessed. Once we got on the property, we were like, God is here. Like, we're in the right place. It was on the way though, and it was on the way there and the way back where we were kind of like, what's going on? And can you guys just somebody say hello or something just to make sure we're not missing you guys, that we can see you guys, that you're with us, that you can hear us good. And so there was a point where I started getting uncomfortable.
So we were, I wanted to get gas before it got dark, so that we were good for the next day. So we went to go get gas. We were going to go get gas, and we found out we found a gas station, and leaving the retreat to go to the gas station, I started to feel really, really uncomfortable, and I felt uncomfortable being a black man. And I was like, I told Jamaica, I was like, hey, they have these big Trump signs like on these buildings, like they're not hiding that they're Trump supporters and stuff like that. And then there was so many flags. I even saw a couple of Confederate flags, and at that point I got a little nervous, like, what could happen. I'm thinking, like, do I have to get out the car? Maybe, I don't know what could happen right now. And we passed two cops. They were facing each other. They were talking, and they were literally probably maybe 200 feet away from the gas station that was broken down. And it looked like a gas station from movies where
Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, you get out the gas station and they chop up the car. So I'm a little nervous, and I'm like, all right. And Jamaica says, you can chime in that part.
So real quick, so whatever political affiliate anybody has, that's their business. There was something that was stemming that was unspoken. Like, we're in the same car and we're kind of like chatting it up, but we're both kind of like, that was weird, or that feels uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And so this whole like unspoken dialogue is happening. So we get pulled over to the gas station. Now, mind you, we like the people in the movie, right? Where we go out in the middle of nowhere and we need gas. And so we turn on the GPS. GPS says, next gas station is 3 miles down. So we're like, okay, cool. So we're driving on these rural roads, and we pull up to the gas station, like he said, that looked like it's from the movies, like the old school pump, and it's closed. But when I pull over into the gas station, I like said to him, I don't know what I said. I'm like,
let me pump the gas.
Yeah, I said, let me pump the gas. And he was like, okay, now mind you, when I'm with my husband, he pumps the gas. But I was like uncomfortable at that moment with my husband even stepping foot out the car. I have never experienced any feelings like that in my life. I must be honest. I have said even in the past, like, I have struggled to even comprehend some things that some people end up saying that they face, because I have not personally or awareingly, or is that a word? I don't know. Or I wasn't aware of experiencing certain types of racism or discrimination. And so the fact that I was like, when we do get to the right gas station, I don't want you to get out, it was bad.
Yeah. And with that, when I saw the two cops, and I was like, I'm going to have to get out and pump this gas. I'm like, I don't know what could happen. But at that time, I'm like, like, I don't want anything to happen to not only myself, my wife, and my two daughters, just for pumping gas. And that gas station was closed, and all of a sudden, I just started feeling like, we got to get out of here. Like, we just can't be out here hanging out. It just feels so heavy. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And we got to a Cumberland Farms, a known gas station. And even at that gas station, I was really, really uncomfortable. And then I was like, maybe my spirit is just vexed for another reason. But I was like, I'm really vexed, and I don't know why. And Jamaica goes, let me pump the gas. At first, he was like, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'm like, all right, so me being who I am, at that time, I'm thinking, if someone tries to touch me and my family, I'm going to die trying. Like, I'm not going to let us go out just like that. And it just felt like anything could happen. We were in the middle of nowhere. Everything was so far away. And we were like, we just want to get back to the retreat. And we ended up driving to a restaurant for some food.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jamaica was like, before that, Jamaica pumped some gas. It was the quickest gas pumping I've ever saw.
I was
in
trying
my
to.
life.
I was really trying to get that gas, and I was like, this thing coming out like droplets. But yeah,
it was more so like just put something in the tank to get us where we need to go
yeah.
and out of this town tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove to a place to get some food, and I was like, I'm always thinking like, can we just curbside order this thing? Because I don't know what's in that restaurant. Then you can share what happened with that.
So everything you heard so far, and y'all could chime in, let us know what you're thinking or whatever. But everything that has happened so far is all about a feeling, right? We haven't come in contact with anybody, particularly until this point when we get to the restaurant. And so the lady tells us from where we were going. She's like, yeah, there's a great restaurant in town. Go check them out or whatever, because there's nowhere to eat. Like, you gotta drive like 20 miles just to get to food. Like, you know what I mean? Like, once you get in the location of the retreat, that's pretty much it. You're there. And so either it's this spot or you about to eat something else. I don't know. So we pull up to the restaurant, and immediately I'm like, my husband is not walking in there. Sorry. I'm like, my husband is not walking in there. Now, this might sound weird. It might sound like crazy because I'm a Black woman. You know what I'm saying? But I just felt something. There was something that was just making me really alarmed for my husband. And it wasn't like somebody specifically did anything or whatever. But I was like, all right, we got our kids. Like, you can carry a weapon all you want to, but you don't want to ever have to draw your weapon on nobody for no reasons. And you out in the middle of God only knows where, right? So we aren't easy. I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to go inside, grab a menu, see what's going on. When I go inside, the people are looking at me like I am an anomaly. Like I am a statue. They're like, it was like the record scratched. Like, where'd she come from? So I asked the guy for a menu. He slides the menu across the bar table at me. I take the menu and I go outside. Now, some might say we should have just kept it moving at that point.
I almost said we should have just kept it moving at that point. And just
had them chips, had them Lay's chips and that apple juice.
Some ginger ale.
But we were hungry and we knew there was nowhere else to go get some food. So we order the food, but we call it in and they say it's going to take 40 minutes. Now, the retreat is 3 miles up the road. I'm like, hun, may sound crazy. I don't want you to go in there. Let me come back and get this food. Go ahead.
And, I'm thinking like, I'm not going to let you go out there by yourself. So we went back to the retreat spot, and I just felt so uneasy. So I stayed with Aaliyah, and Jamaica and Anaya went back, and we called on the way there to make sure they were safe. Got back, the food was good. Then we started discussing about what we felt, and that's when we knew. We've known it, but that's when we never. I've felt racism. I think how it would feel to be a Black man a lot of times in my life, depending on what area I worked in or who I was dealing with, but we felt this time that this was something that it's a spiritual force that is behind all of this stuff. Even if sometimes like the people who are putting out Black Lives Matter stuff, everyone doesn't have a real intent of helping the Black race and the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But that time we felt it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Flip the script. Being at the retreat, you could feel God. And I asked Jamaica, and I was like, it bothers me that we could feel God here, and 4 miles down the road, it's like the enemy's like playground.
Yeah,
it feels like out there.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way. And so when we were having the talk, we realized that we're both believers in Christ. We're both filled with God's Spirit. We were experiencing the same exact feelings and these things, and it was alarming that as we talked about it, that we were like, wow, we really just drove through an area that we were like, something's not right here. So of course, your girl, I'm looking stuff up. I want to know who lives here, right? I want to know who's in this area. I know we felt very safe on the retreat grounds, but what was that we just drove through? And we drove through an area, an entire town that had literally 98% white in the town. I had never heard of anything like that. Now, guys, we from Hertford County. We grew up in Hertford County. No, Manchester. Yeah, right. But we grew up in the outer skirts of the city, right? And so you have grown up in different cultures, different races, and I have never experienced a town that had 98% of the people being white and 2.2% were black. 0.2 is not even a person. That's like somebody baby was adopted in the town and they just had to identify it. Seriously. And it's like, how in the world did that happen? Like, to me, that is some form of redlining, some type of segregation where a whole body of people does not exist. Like, that's what we felt. Somebody help us out. Anybody, if we're just give us some feedback, because we were really perplexed about this thing. And then when we saw the statistics, I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is just the town. Let me look at the county. Let me see what's going on with the county. So if you look at the town would be Windsor. And then the county would be Hartford County, right? Which is inclusive of Windsor, East Hartford, all these different places. Not East Hartford, West Hartford, all these different places, Bloomfield. So I'm like, well, let me see what the county looks like. The county was like 86% white. That's for an entire county, and the size of the county was the size of Hartford, which is the capital of the state of Connecticut, about 145,000 people. That's a lot of people for it to be 86% white. And I just continued to kind of drill down on those demographics, and it painted a picture for me. I saw the picture. The picture was disturbing. It was disturbing. And I'm thinking, how in the world is this amazing, beautiful place that we went to, which is the God that you can tell the grounds are consecrated unto God, is in the middle of just truly systemic racism. That's what it is.
I think just experiencing the whole things this weekend, the retreat was amazing. It's something that I think if you ever get a chance to do it, it was amazing. It was a lot of good time to experience God and the family in a different way. One thing I started thinking after we got out of the town, the next day, I was so happy to see Holyoke Mall. Not even for the mall, but just to see something I knew again. And then just getting back to Windsor. But something I started thinking was, it's not okay just to be in a place where God is. If that place doesn't have the I don't want to say the assignment, but that place doesn't have the guidance to start taking over more territory or more land, because the way the presence of God is there, I'm pretty sure God wants His presence in more places. Scripture that comes to mind is the earth is the Lord's, right, and the fullness thereof, which means all of it is His. But these demographics are controlled by people who are allowing the enemy to spew racism, discrimination, and all of that stuff. And we know that's the plan of the enemy to separate people. In a region like that, I told Jamaica, I was like, if I knew those demographics, I probably wouldn't have went for the sake of safety for my family. And I would have been like, hey, that retreat sounds amazing, but either we're going to create our own in some hotel room, but I would have been too nervous to think what would happen if we got in those predicaments. I don't know if I would have turned the other cheek in a predicament that seemed to threaten my family based on the towns we were in.
So I'm curious to know what you guys think about that, because we kind of were on two different ends of the spectrum with that. You know, I understand my husband's role as protector, and it makes a lot of sense even as I think back on, the roles of a man, and even the history of African Americans as men in our country. So I completely get that, and I understand that. The spiritual side of me, right, is we ain't letting nothing stop us. We will call down every demon and every warlock, right? That will try to prohibit us from going any place. And it's like, what do you think about these two dynamics? They're both extremely real. You know what I mean? You have we know we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But principalities, rulers of darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. We know that. But the fact of the matter is there's a man or there's a woman that is allowing certain things of the enemy to occur, and they're natural bodies. They're natural people. And so it's like, well, do we just remove ourselves from environments that are potentially of concern, or do we enforce change? Like, are we the ones who are the changes? We even started talking about like Martin Luther King and all these different things. Always ready to slay something. Come on, Jay Renee. You know? And so it's like, where do we kind of draw the line with that in regards to what we are feeling versus like the realities of racism in America?
So I think as the role of a man and a priest of a home, the number one job is protection. That's the number one job. Yes, the scripture does says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and all of that stuff. Something that I vowed to do for the rest of the week is to pray for dramatic Christian influence in those towns, dramatic uprooting of these spirits and all of that stuff. Now, that doesn't mean to me, unless God told me, that doesn't mean to me I'm going to go drive in that town and just sit in the middle of the field and start praying that stuff. And I'm not saying that as being scared, but saying it as a man and a protector. I would hate to be put in the predicament where I get killed and my family's left without me.
Right.
For the strength of making sure people know I got the Spirit of God in me. I can do that in my basement, or wherever I'm at. So I think the male role is protect. But I think in situations like this, we cannot let our fervency or our zeal push us past wisdom and see what is God saying, what is He not saying. Because usually when you get zealous and you get fervent, like you just go all out. You become Peter. You just act. And God's like, hey, I had a strategic way. I wanted to get this thing done, which even might be even through the people at the retreat to pray in a different way, not just for the grounds of the retreat to be consecrated, but for the town to have a lot of stuff uprooted out of the town, out of the county, so those things can be changed too. But I do believe when you're facing the enemy, the Bible talks about counting up the cost, how to wage war, and all of these things, because it's not a person we're fighting. It's principalities and a land that we're up against, and that's stronger than one person.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's so good. This is why we married y'all, so that I can have some balance. I'll be like, you'll be like, wait, do you know how to use that? Let's see. Claire said, sadly, many areas have plenty of zoning laws to keep the flavor of the town, which, while not overly, sorry, I lost you, Claire. There we go. Which while not overtly racist, absolutely serve to lock Black folks out. Claire, that's really ultimately, it's redlining. That's what I was describing as redlining, and it's not cool. It's not cool. And we were talking too. What do you guys think about this? I was like, I think that a lot of times when I hear even people describe racism, when I hear it on talk shows or what have you, a lot of times I don't even hear the descriptions of a specific race, but the things that they associate with the culture of a race. And we were talking about that, and I'm like, I think that culture is a huge part of society. It's our behaviors and the norms of a specific group of people that becomes common where they are. There's just things, these normacies that happen. And some people like, well, I don't like that. I don't like this, and I don't want it in my neighborhood. And of course, that becomes racism because you're discriminating against a whole body of people. But a lot of times, what's being described is cultural basis, and we were talking about that. And I'm like, we have to have more dialogue about the things that are occurring in within this melting pot of communities in order for us to say, listen, you might not like it, but this is what it is. This is what it means to me, or this is what it represents in my life, whether you like it or not. But I don't think that there should be costs that go up so that nobody can buy that land, and it's happening, y'all.
Yeah.
And, the laws prohibit certain things like that, but trust me, people are finding these ways around it. Jay Renee says a lot of racist people don't like the culture expressed by Black people, not our actual race. That's a problem. That's a problem because, when you think about, let's just be honest and frank, like we having real dialogue here, like majority of those who live in America are not originally we are not Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? And so we came from a certain place and all have a specific type of culture that becomes associated with us. And it's like, why are we then pinpointed because of our culture or the things that you might apply to my culture? And then now it's against my entire race. Like that to me, I struggle with those type of concepts.
Now, I want to make sure we however long we have on here, I want to make sure we make it clear that we're not against white people. We're not saying that. We're speaking of an experience, because sometimes, like Jamaica said, she's never had those experiences except when she's never had those type of experiences except when she rode when I was in the car.
Right.
And I've been a Black man all of my life, and I would tell Jamaica sometimes where when the George Floyd incident happened, when all those incidents happened, it paused me for a long time. And I felt silly at first expressing that because I didn't know the person, but I knew I tried to think what it would feel like knowing somebody was choking me out, and I knew I had to get back home to my wife and my daughters.
Yeah.
But I couldn't because some guy decided to just put his knee on my neck for that long. So every time it would bother me, but we're not against white people.
Right.
What we are against is injustice, and we're against what the enemy is trying to grow. And in any place that there's racism, there's racism in any town that we can go in. And we've even I experienced it in towns that's near Windsor. There's certain towns that's near Windsor that I don't go into, or if I had to go into there, I'm making sure I get out. I'm making sure I wind my windows down. I don't play music. I make sure I don't have shades on or a hoodie on. So it's not just that far out. It's places that's closer by. But we don't hate white people. We're not against white people. We're against what the enemy wants to do through anybody. But we're against the enemy of especially what he was trying to. What he wants to let grow in that county that we were in.
Yeah.
We want that county to experience Jesus Christ and to experience salvation. It's not enough for us just to influence the culture with our culture as Black people, but we want them to experience Jesus Christ. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, if it's pride, if it's Black Lives Matter, we want people to experience Jesus Christ and know Him and walk that out.
Yep. Nita said there is racism in churches. Just saying, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Everywhere where there's people. You know what I mean? People. I'm sorry.
Somebody said something above it.
Oh, somebody said something. Let's see. It got cut off there. So yeah, wherever you're going to find bodies of people, there's the same thing. Like God uses a body, right? Our God uses a body. That's what He desires in this dispensation of Christ by His Spirit. And unfortunately, the devil does as well. And so wherever there's going to be people, you're going to be friend or foe. That's just to make it very as simple as possible. It's going to be those who embody the Spirit of Christ, right? And can I just say this? The character of Christ is not the same as the character of, I have my own personality. I have my own thoughts. And sometimes I can be corrected even in my own thoughts by God's thoughts versus mine. Right. And so it's like I yield to what is right based off of Jesus Christ. But if somebody doesn't necessarily have the Spirit of God, they are susceptible to all of their thoughts, all of their feelings, all of their experiences. And so what happens with that? At times you can experience, a lot of people say, well, my daughter was, beat up one time by a black man. And then they just apply that to all black people.
Yeah.
And it was based off of an experience that was emotionally driven, that was real to them. And then now they've made like a law for their life around it. And so that's one of the areas that I really want to dispel that. My biggest thing, I want to really empower people of color to be and live the life that they really want to live. And I mean just to go beyond what you just know, but what you really want to live. And I feel like a lot of times we get the short end of the stick in regards to, the statistics talking about how many African Americans are in the prison systems. Even our article I just read about the numbers of abortions in metropolitan cities stemming predominantly from African Americans. I want to break that. And I want to find out what's the root of that thing, because it's way bigger than just decisions. It's way bigger than that. And so the statistics speak. They reveal a lot of things. And if we could just become mindful of that, and of course yield to the Spirit of God on what is really happening, what's at the root of that, then we can really impose change.
I think to wrap up, to say, I think God allows us to have experiences so that we can know what we need to pray for. Yes, we know these are things that we should pray for with racism of any sort, discrimination of any sort, segregation of any sort. But if we didn't go there, we wouldn't have known that it was that heavy there. So we're not neglecting the experience. We believe we were shown something, and something that maybe God was like, hey, I don't have anybody in the land who's seeing this, because if they're the same color, they're not experiencing that. But I need someone who has seen this. And I always think too, if you felt something, it drives you to pray a little bit differently than you just praying on the normal whim. Like feeling something either happen to you or someone close to you, it can make you pray differently. So my thing for the next rest of the week, and I'm sure my wife will join on it, is praying that it's uprooted in that town, that believers are driven to help change that town. I don't think people are just born hateful and racist. I think it's grown, and it's the environment. If you're around people like that all the time, you're pretty sure you're going to be like that. But the goal is salvation for anybody who's not saved, white, black, whatever you are. The goal is to drive racism out as much as we possibly can. We might not be the people who end it all, but we want to make sure we put a dent in this, because it's not right at all. And these people's kids don't need to grow up and learn how to be against a color or a culture for no apparent real reason. So that's the goal for us.
I wanted to end with one quick point. Nita had mentioned our ministries are separated, yet we try to protest in the world, but make very little effort to open our church doors to all races and churches. We need to make the churches safe. Amen. I agree with that. One thing I want to expound on with that is that we are people. And so as people, we influence mass. I think about just in a 24-hour period. In a 24-hour period, as me as an individual, I'll use as an example, I'm a mom. I am a person that lives inside of my community. I walk in my community. I can go to the grocery store in a 24-hour period. I go on my job, which is in the marketplace, right? Which is in the secular world. And so if I just look at the breakdown of my day, and then of course I'm in the church, right? And when I say the church, I mean the body of Christ. I mean even in a a fellowship, an actual church body of people. I may go into a prayer call, or I may go into the actual church. Just in a 24-hour period, I have been able to influence or be potentially influential in all these different arenas. It is my life. My life should be a reflection of the Spirit of God, which tells me to entreat and to love any and everybody, right? And so that is what needs to be at the core of making this person new, making individuals start to understand that their lives are a reflection, their individual lives are a reflection of even the communities around them. And so it's so important for us to start within ourselves before we can either, because we're literally a body of people that come together in specific arenas like the church or at the job or in the community. And so we need to focus on the individuals. Say that again.
Taylor said something about that.
Taylor, let's see what you said, Taylor. I can think of experiences like that with my job. There's a purpose for you being in situations to change, impact you, and to impact you and those around you. Amen.
I think
Amen.
also too, to piggyback on the start where we worship and the church stuff too. I'm in the fitness industry, and the fitness industry would impact people a lot more if we all really help people the way we say we are in the industry to help people, right? And I'm in the fitness industry. There's trainers everywhere. There's certain trainers who only train to get like the wow factor, like to only train to get the Instagram stories and all that stuff. And then you get other trainers who actually stay up at night learning. My wife can tell you, learning new things, trying to figure out why it's not working, trying all that stuff. But I can't focus on the full industry and not focus on what am I in the industry to do to cause this change. And I've been in the church all my life. I've always sometimes felt like the church need to be doing more. If they don't do this, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. But it's like I have to put the charge on what am I called in the vineyard to do, and who's a partner with me to do those things. If they're on board with me, I got to focus on that. Or else I'll get mad at the church and not realizing like there's a part that he wants me to do. Like we're not in the physical building right now either, which is showing us like, hey, we got to do what we need to do as individuals, and God will allow the people to come along with us. But that's all I have for tonight. I don't know if Jamaica has anything.
No, that's it. That's it. But I will say this last thing. Seriously, last thing. When we were driving and we saw all those Black Lives Matter signs, I'm gonna tell y'all what came to my mind. Okay, truth moment. I told my husband, the purge. Remember when they put them flowers on the porch of the house, that they would say, if these flowers are on the porch, it was symbolic to the people that they, even if they didn't participate in the purge, that they were for basically whatever they wanted to do. So it would stop people from coming to attack them. That's what I saw. That's what I felt. I did not feel like there was alliance that was happening. I did not feel like the truth of like quote unquote Black lives, that they really thought that they mattered. I thought it was to protect themselves from any attacks from communities, if there was uprisings or anything that was to happen. And so we got to listen. You know how they say stay woke? I don't even want to say stay woke. You need to stay in discernment. You need to be, if you have the spirit of discernment, you need to discern what's happening to get beyond what your physical eyes are seeing and go with what you really know. That's all I'm going to say. But we love you guys. We just came on. Give us some feedback. Hit us up. You know our pages. Let me show y'all what our pages are. Whatever. All Things Kingdom by Jamaica.org. And then my husband's page, druismtraining.com. He is the coach of coaches, y'all, in multiple aspects. And so connect with us. We love y'all. Y'all be blessed. And thank you for chiming in with us tonight. Y'all, peace out.